Jiena Thomas Kasmallija minn Volt Malta. Aħna pala l-Partit Volt Malta huwa l-Partit Progressiv tal-pajjiż tagħna u li jixtieq li jiffoka fuq il-valuri ta' progressività, ta' demokrazija u ta' sostenibilità li aħna nixtiequ li indaħlu nnifs ġdid fil-pajjiż biex inkunu nistgħu naraw bidla differenti u naraw li ndaħlu elementi progressivi li huma kemm Ewropej pala pajjiż globali wkoll pala li naqadna pajjiżi oħrajn u li wkoll nkunu nistgħu prattikament ndaħlu vuċi ġdida fis-settur tagħna tal-politika.
So, hi, my name is Alexia. I'm co-president and candidate for Volt Malta. We are a progressive political party which focuses on choice, civil liberty, sustainability, democracy. We are a new voice and we want to add to the political scene. So basically first what we should do is we should take in as many refugees as we can, as is possible, and we should also fully support the EU sanctions as much as we can. Besides that, we need to make sure that we tackle food security as we were affected by food security, and implement other systems such as vertical farming to help us. And lastly, stronger EU solutions when it comes to food, energy, and also maybe work on expanding trade deals with countries such as Africa.
Pala proposti għanna sezzjoni kbira fuqhom, prattikament hija kemm pala expansion fuq il-bus transport innifsu biex jisir 24/7, inżidu iktar il-flotta tal-buses innifisom ukoll biex ikunu iktar regolari u jikkaverjaw kullum kien. Kif ukoll il-bidla tal-ħsieb tal-mod ta' kif napproċċjaw li nżidu iktar basically zero emission transport, so ninkoraġġu iktar roti, e-scooters u anke l-mod ta' kif isir il-pjanar tat-toroq isir tal-mod li dawk ikollhom priorità qabel il-buses u mbagħad il-buses jerġa' jkunu qabel il-karozzi. Ħalli ħallu l-karozzi kemm jista' jkun lejn l-aħħar għal relik tal-passat.
So first we have community gardens in existing and new public spaces, as well as community-centered learning. We also have a living wage for all workers, as well as an extension and expansion of mental health care. Also investing in new research and like wave energy, hydrogen energy, and focusing on public transport and reducing emissions, especially phasing out fossil fuels by 2035.
Għana pala first time buyers iktar il-focus tagħna hija pala broader approach għal mod ta' kif isir bini ġdid li jkun hemm insulating u jkun hemm heating appropriate għal mod ta' kif isir il-bini ġdid. U mbagħad beyond that hija iktar il-mod ta' kif nixtiequ nirriformaw pala l-opportunitajiet għal studenti biex ikunu jistgħu iktar actually jkollhom pala ammont ta' flus anke pala l-pagi again mill-living wage u dawk l-approaches biex technically ikun kulħadd jintlaqat b'dik il-mod iktar milli specifically għal dik is-section biss tal-poplu.
Okay, so what we are focusing on is a bottom-up approach. So we want to start mainly with primary and secondary, focusing more on critical thinking, removing excessive information, maybe even regarding to homework. Maybe it's not mandatory but optional as well. And focusing on more critical topics like science, technology, arts, and mathematics. Then, further on critical thinking, we want to introduce philosophy into secondary teaching as well to further critical thinking, and also aim to increase teachers' salaries.
Just to add on to that, we also, in terms for tertiary, we wish to increase more the ability for both people within the tertiary sector and people who have exited the education system to come back into tertiary by providing negative interest rates for getting master's qualifications and even for getting MQF5 and MQF6 qualifications by having 0% interest rates on those as well, so in terms of directly for the tertiary sector. Mela, aħna pala l-mira tagħna hija li nifukaw immens fuqha, għandna pala l-policy tagħna hija estensiva, jekk hemm pala millat tibda ġifieri nibdew mill-primarja u titlaq all the way anki beyond l-edukazzjoni, anki għal kumpaniji fil-private sector, fil-public sector, li basically nżidu iktar awareness pala inclusivity fl-iskejjel u fil-courses innifisom, fil-curriculums tagħna, il-mod ta' kif anki isir pala broader media wkoll nżidu iktar dik l-inklusività, nżidu anki pala contraception per eżempju, iktar awareness fuq dak il-mod anki pala abortion. Aħna l-partit tagħna huwa magħruf heavily pala l-pro-choice party. Il-policy tagħna fuq abortion hija fil-fatt kemm pala decriminalization u legalization of medical abortion, jiġifieri hija definitely controversial but necessary. We focus heavily on pro-choice and the ability for bodily autonomy. Ġifieri minn dak l-aspett għandna ħafna proposals differenti li jistendu fil-sexual health u reproductive rights li nixtiequ nagħmlu full rework tagħha fil-pajjiż.
I mean, we see no reason why the inquiry recommendations shouldn't be implemented as quickly as can be. I mean, they've been out for a while, and journalists need those protections as well. So, we'll go all out once we've implemented as quickly as we can.
And very weird that they haven't been already implemented.
Yes, they should
from the
have been
get-go.
already.
To be honest, it's like Pala il-proġett aħna nixtiequ li jitwaqqaf sakemm jistgħu jsiru l-istudji kollha li hemm bżonn biex nikkonfermaw il-viability tagħha, kif ukoll anki di torbot mal-public transport u għalhekk mal-konnettività. Aħna nixtiequ li nagħmlu studji biex nkunu ċerti li t-trasport ikun connective Malta u Għawdex. Hence istudji li nagħmlu jinkludu wkoll Għawdex fiha u nafu biċ-ċert li it-tunnel ma kieku mhux ħajjidħol ma dik is-sistema għax prattikament hija sempliċement tunnel għal karozzi. So, aħna nixtiequ li dik titwaqqaf u pala li nixtiequ nagħmlu għal Għawdex hija li kemm jista' jkun intejbu connectivity u iktar il-compatibility ta' Għawdex innifisha biex kun jistgħu ċertu affarijiet li n-nies Għawċini kollhom joqogħdu jiġu Malta lihom jistgħu jsibuhom Għawdex kemm għal geoclinic, kemm għall isptar, kemm għal ċertu servizzi li jkollhom bżonn ġenerali u anke x-xogħol li jkunu jistgħu jagħmlu. So basically iktar l-approach tagħna hija li Għawdex tkun kompetittiva wkoll u mbagħad minflok li nagħmlu iktar inżidu fast ferries, inżidu iktar regoltar ta' dawk is-servizzi u again norbtuhom mal public transport biex tkun a one complete system. So surprisingly, to be honest, a lot of positive feedback overall. Kemm jiena personali l-ċirkostanzi tiegħu bħala partit, since we are a very controversial party, we expected a lot of backlash. Però considering li ħafna NGOs differenti li jissapportu dak li aħna nemnu li kienu ilhom jixtiequ ikollhom vuċi progressiva, anke nies li xebgħu mill-partiti l-antiki li xtaqu nifs ġdid basically u nifs ġdid li mhuwiex nifs li jixtieq jistajfel li nifs ta' ħadd ieħor. Naħseb tkunu ta' vol minnet nirreferi. Imma it was a very positive reception. Very unexpected, but
Yes.
very welcome.
I mean, we've been registered for less than a year now, but the response has been very refreshing. It's been very inspiring. The team are very happy. All of us are who are involved, and it keeps us going. It keeps us pushing. And we're here to stay. We're a progressive party. We have good ideas which need to be spoken about. Yes, they're controversial, but we want to normalize them as much as we can because they should already have been normalized. And we need new faces. We need just basically a refreshment of the political system. Politics is for everyone. It should be for everyone. Anyone who wants to get involved should be able to get involved instead of having to go through different systems where they might have to,
restrain their voices.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And we're offering a new way for everyone, not just young people.
Sure.
So.
I would personally say it shouldn't be something that
Yeah.
is an obligation. I would argue that as my general values are towards the ability to choose and the ability to be free to do what you need to do, and as Malta, we are a bilingual nation.
Yeah.
They should at least be able to learn one of our national languages.
Exactly.
English being a national language, they should at least have the option to choose one or the other, especially considering that English is such a global language. So
Yes, but to add on to that, it doesn't necessarily, it should be encouraged, but as someone who has tried to, how can I explain this? Personally, I'm more fluent in English than I am in Maltese due to a learning disability I had as a child. So I had tried to learn Maltese in a different way once I was able to learn Maltese in a different way. And the Maltese as a foreign language sector, it is there, but it's not good enough. And it's not as accessible enough. And you have to, it's very, very hard to find people who are willing to teach you as foreigners, or even people like me who struggle to learn more than one language. So it should not be obligatory. It should be a choice, but the facility should be there to at least encourage it, to push for cultural integration, but it should not be obligatory.
yeah, so other than the things mentioned from these questions, we did mention briefly the living wage, but also to expand further on that, we also want to introduce parental leave. We also want to introduce a lowering of the corporate tax for Maltese companies and making sure that even businesses can open more effectively and easier. Basically, we want to try to hit all different aspects of Malta to make sure that basically we raise all ships together.
Yes.
We make sure that not one sector is pushed forward at the expense of another sector. So we want to improve the education system, both in sex ed and even in critical thinking and the way. We want to improve teachers, we want to improve workers, make sure that their salaries can match to a living decent wage, where basically they can have food, shelter, clothing, even emergency expenses that are necessary. And also businesses, to make sure that people have the opportunity to innovate, have the opportunity to actually set up companies here in Malta rather than having to compete with foreign companies that have a better bias towards them. And then generally, we want to reform the government process and the way we look at politics, the way we think of politicians, the way we think politics should be done, and instead we go at it how we think it really should be done, in sense of being transparent, being making sure that parliamentarians have a full-time job and it's not something that they just do on the side. It's a basically complete rework of how we want to look at Malta, push us forward into the 21st century, basically.